Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Show Me the Crypto. This episode we chat with Vugar Usi Zade, the COO of Bitget. Vugar has an interesting entry into the crypto space. While many people get into this industry hoping to increase their wealth, Vugar already had wealth and he was looking to protect it. So we talked a little bit about his journey and what led to him joining Bitget. All thoughts on this conversation.
Well, it kicked off with an interesting story. His journey, like you said, it started in 2017, which was a very interesting time to get into crypto because things were popping off, but then they quickly crashed hard in 2018. So that story was a great kickoff point. It was a great way to get to know Vugar. But from there, we get into sort of a lot of the subject matter around financial literacy and those ups and downs that you go through in this space as an investor and also as an exchange, Bitget, what they provide to their users. And they actually do a lot on that educational side also. So there's a lot of interesting points regarding financial literacy, education in the space, and as well, just as an investor, what you can do through an exchange today.
Yeah, you're going to want to watch this interview the full way through because toward the end, we even jump into some of the predictions of what might be trends to keep an eye on in this current bull run. We hope you love this episode with Vugar.
Show me the crypto. Show me the crypto. Show me the crypto.
In a world on the brink of disruption, two men will bring you clarity by interviewing some of the most intelligent and influential names in the blockchain world. Welcome to Show Me the Crypto with your hosts, Wade Patterson and Ulf Lonergan.
Well, hi there and welcome to Show Me the Crypto. My name is Wade Patterson.
And I'm Ulf Lonergan.
We're a couple of friends from Canada who love learning about cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, and we're happy you're along for the ride. Whether you're a crypto virgin or you know your way around the block, we hope our interviews with some of the most intelligent and influential people in the blockchain space help deliver you with value. And on this episode, we're joined by Vugar Usi Zade, Chief Operating Officer at Bitget. Prior to joining Bitget, Vugar held senior positions at notable companies such as Facebook, Carlsberg, Sony, and Be In Crypto. With 25 million registered users, Bitget empowers the future of finance by ensuring secure, efficient, and smart digital transactions. Vugar, welcome to Show Me the Crypto.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm super excited, especially about Canada. I think it's one of the exciting markets closer to America, but not exactly there.
That's right. Yeah, a lot going on up here. We were having a good conversation about some of the places we've been prior to hitting the record button. But where I want to start with this, Vugar, is my understanding is that you entered crypto kind of in an opposite way than many other people do. So many people come into this space because they're looking to make money. From what I understand, you had money and you were looking for a way to protect that money, and that kind of brought you into crypto. So can you kind of break down the full story? Like, what business were you involved in that you got this money, and then the fact of what brought you into the crypto space?
Definitely. Back in 2017, for a couple of years, I had a startup with friends, and we've been working in like an ad tech sphere, like a traditional Web2 kind of a business. And we managed to attract $2.7 billion from one of the largest funds called CBS Capital. And it was a time to kind of stay or exit. All my team members decided to stay, and they're doing very well. They're like a decacorns. They are super big. But I was 20 something, and it was the first time I could actually touch the money, like not just have money on a paper in the forms of hypothetical shares. And I wanted to have that experience. And I eventually decided to exercise my exit, and I got the money to my bank account. First thing, bank called me. They were like, where the money comes. I had to, print thousands and thousands of pages of the paper to go prove to the bank that it's my money. For example, in crypto, the transaction happens in a second. You have it, right? It wasn't the case. Anyways, after I did all this process and I could physically go and, have that money or buy things I want, I got this weird phone call. It's like, a guy on the other end. He was like, "Oh, I'm your private banking manager. Now I will help you," and so on. And first time ever, he explained me that you need to now make sure that you don't lose that money to inflation and invest, because I I come from like a humble beginning. Like we never had like a that kind of a huge money sitting around and laying around. Therefore, it was first time I was thinking, okay, now it's not about just how to make money. It's about like how to not to lose money. And what the bank was offering is that like, oh, you can invest into ETFs and stocks and IPOs, 5-8%. And inflation is going crazy. And then eventually pandemic happens. And for someone who got the money through entrepreneurial journey, usually you are not happy with that 8-10% return. And eventually I joined my friends in the VC, and that's how I initially started investing. And I discovered the crypto for myself. And because I come from a marketing background and I had a hard-earned money, and I wasn't comfortable just like putting it somewhere, I wanted to have hands-on. Therefore, like all the ventures I invested, I also tried to help them to grow. And eventually, I ended up in crypto. And I think crypto, especially like when I talk crypto in today's market, it's not about like a meme coins or NFTs. I never did that like a risky transactions. Mainly, I was focusing on like a long-term hold strategies and investing in layer zeros and infrastructure projects. And that's how I ended up here. And I think crypto is one of the best places to kind of not to lose your money and still add it up. I think because traditionally you would go and buy a property in London or one of these like a big cities, and we know what happens to San Francisco, for example. It was a very hypey market, but now it is not as lucrative as it is. Therefore, I think in today's market, and I'm very happy that I ended up in crypto and investing, that I didn't lose the money. Therefore, yes, my journey is about less about making money, more about keeping the money.
And what about, so you mentioned like how you ended up in crypto, but how were you actually introduced? You know, what was the, it's not like the banks you went to said, "Hey, go check out crypto." So who introduced you, or how did you end up stumbling upon crypto as a whole?
Because I joined the VC as a partner and was investing, and therefore I saw a lot of pitches of people coming and pitching the infrastructure projects, and eventually I start self-educating, because honestly, until 2017, here and there I heard about crypto, but I never actually like went and self-taught. And for me, it was like I never invested in my money into something that I didn't know about. And it was a very crazy times. There was this company. It was like going through restructuring. It was a bulk production factory, and they wanted me to invest. And I know nothing about electricity or bulk production. And I was like, okay, shall I go learn about it? But it was looking like so boring. But like crypto was much easier to learn, and there are so many resources online. And I started reading about it. Of course, ended up in the Satoshi's white paper, which is super long, and I honestly didn't understand half of it. But then I went to different like YouTube videos, and I started learning, and eventually I also stumbled upon Da Vinci Jeremy's video about buying Bitcoin, and later on I met him in person also in Dubai. At that point, the video was like, I don't know, 3-4 years old when he published it. And I think he published it in 2014. And after 10 years, I think that's one of the most valuable. I wish everyone listened to him and bought Bitcoin at that point. And that's how I ended up in crypto through the ventures, but also through a lot of like a self-learning.
I love it. And but timing wise, so this was around 2017 when you're moving into crypto. You've got all this money to protect, and that is arguably the worst time to get into crypto. And I'm just saying that from my own experience. I actually got into crypto around 2017 too, right near the end. But if for those who recall or don't know, things were popping off in 2017. It was like hype of that bull run. All prices are just soaring. Bitcoin's all over the news. And then end of 2017, 2018, we hit the bear market. Everything starts crashing. So how did that, how did you decide to, or how did you protect your wealth during that time? And how did you have the conviction to stick around in this space following such a, crash in the market?
I love how we're all positive that as if I multiplied. No, I lost pretty significantly. And like a casino effect, like because I lost, but I believed in technology, I stayed and I kept doing it. And that's one of the reasons, like I love, for example, the reason I joined Bitget was founded in 2018. That for me, investing, because I come very traditional background, I consulted at Bain and so on. For me, investing wasn't ever about 6 months, 8 months period where you put, you take, you kind of chase that gains. For me, even today, when I invest in something, why am I investing? Do I believe in that product? And I always say, I wouldn't invest in a token if I'm not using the token for the reason it is designed for. I will come and people will pitch, I don't know, let's say, oh, this is the next token you're going to buy a bread with. But everyone is holding the token in hopes it will go expensive and we're going to sell instead of going actually buying that bread. Then for me, it loses its value. And like it's a hypothetical bread, of course. Therefore, I think 2018, 17 was this crazy ICOs, all these ideas coming up. Therefore, there were a lot of projects that I burned myself, but there were also projects that I didn't. And I think that was a good time, investing in Bitcoin. And I eventually also did 2 years ago. I was like in Bali and it was like Bitcoin was still around like a 17. I was like, well, why don't I buy more? And I think like every time I bought more and kind of this dollar cost averaging, but in a larger spans of time, paid off well for me. And when it comes to coming into crypto, is it like a too late? Is it a good time and bad time? I love this saying. It's not my word, but like I heard somewhere it says like everyone gonna buy the Bitcoin at the price they deserve. And I think like the longer we wait, it is going, because like at some point when this German government starts selling and Bitcoin went down, everyone's like, oh, next bear market is coming. Week later, I don't know, Trump comes and says, if I'm elected, I'll do Bitcoin, then Bitcoin goes up. Like in a short span of time, market fluctuates. But when you take that, chart and zoom out for 2 year or 5 year span, you see how it goes up. And I think that is how, like when you have a conviction and you invest for that big idea rather than this short time span, that's how you can make an actual gain, or at least you don't lose in a longer period. And in my opinion, if you go and today decide to start any business, not try to crypto, any business, I don't know, you want to open a small shop, you never think about becoming a millionaire in 6 months. And why would you want to become millionaire in 6 months in crypto? Like think about 3-4 years, how that technology, how the project you're investing or project you're building can change things. And I think that is one thing that we are currently missing in entire industry.
One thing I didn't even mention on the intro is your education background. So you have education background from Harvard, from Oxford. Later in the conversation, we're going to dive a little bit into the topic of crypto literacy, financial literacy, but just in general, this is a high level question, but what role has education played in your own life?
I come from a truly Middle Eastern family, and education, like being a good person, being a child who makes the parents proud and happy, was about that education. And my parents are academics and they're well educated. Therefore, for us, education was number one priority. And if you are not educated, and you won't be able to earn that position at the table. And that's how I ended up investing. And I really love learning, like self-teaching and learning and exploring. But also I want to say one important thing. I think especially crypto and trading is the only place where you don't need much formal education. And I believe it is the only place where a person without traditional education can come and beat educated person. Because as a surgeon, if someone can't self-teach, I don't know, medicine and surgery and do a better open heart surgery than the trained professional. Same applies almost for any other industry. You can't be a better engineer if you don't have a traditional education. But I think in this investing and crypto industry is the only place where you can still do more than a traditionally educated person, because education is very left behind. You rarely learn anything about crypto or blockchain, even though like Said Business School at Oxford has one of the most forward-thinking blockchain hubs. Still, it is not as fast because of the entire module. But again, I do believe in education, and I think more and more crypto industry is taking shape. Now we know that how much we all were degens, and suddenly government introduced legislation and policy, and we were like, okay, we need more people who knows about crypto because legislators don't know about it, and we have to go and educate them. And to educate them, we need to be able to talk their language. We need to talk lawyers' language. We need to talk HR's language. And therefore, now it is a breaking point where we need more traditionally educated professionals who also understand crypto and can apply that knowledge into the wider industry. And I think that is one of the things that can make me more competitive in this current industry or job market when we talk about traditional structured education versus this modern technology.
Let's shift gears a little bit just to talk about Bitget, because maybe those listening aren't familiar. Wade and I like to cater our show to everyone in the crypto space, whether you're brand new or you've been around a long time. Not everyone's familiar with trading, right? Like you said, this is an industry where a lot of people come in and they're just learning the ropes of financial literacy on their own, and they're just getting started for the first time. So what is Bitget for those who don't know, and what led you to join the team earlier this year?
Bitget is a true Web3 company. Of course, mainly people know us for two reasons: as a centralized exchange, because we serve 25 million customers and we facilitate $10 billion worth of transactions every day. We are also number 3 in terms of volumes in a derivative market, and we are top 10 on the spot market for the crypto savvy audience and listeners. And for everyone else, we are the and I think our partnership with Messi that brings us more kind of eyeballs and legitimacy, because people know Messi, people trust Messi and trust our brand. When we talk about Bitget, in comparison all the other, let's say, line of exchanges, and I think Bitget is in this sweet spot where we cater to audience that are very much into long-term investing, dollar cost averaging of 10 top 10 market cap coins, but also we have a very strong trading facilities. If you're a day trader and professional trader, again, we list around 800 tokens. Either there are exchanges that host like several thousands of the tokens, and they're a little bit, polluted. It's very hard to understand who is who. And then there are other niche of Binances and Krakens that have like a 200, 300 very well-versed tokens. Therefore, as a Bitget with 800, 750 kind of a token listing, we have a very strong due diligence, but still we give a platform to the new issue tokens and promising projects where users can also come and discover gems. Because unfortunately, as a centralized exchange, due to our meticulous listing processes, sometimes projects end up very late in the centralized exchanges, and you rarely see another 10x after they are listed. Therefore, we try to bring and breach that gap and bring that projects to our users. And in parallel, of course, we have our pride investment since last bear market, where everyone was kind of laying off and trying to squeeze their budget. We invested $30 million in Bitkeep, and we rebranded it to Bitget Wallet. It's a decentralized wallet that gives an access to more dApps and more exchanges. And we have another 20 million customers who are more like a degen tech heads, try to go and explore everything else that doesn't end up in the centralized exchange. Therefore, we are a big ecosystem. And on top of it, we have $100 million in PowerX fund, where we invest in the crypto ventures and Web3 ventures. Therefore, if there are cool projects that in the build up in Canada or anywhere in the world, they want to pitch, then they can definitely reach us and we'll try our best. And my favorite initiative that I am leading personally myself, called Blockchain for Use. It's a $10 million pledge fund where we are investing to educate more young people, to bring them into crypto and to make sure that they have knowledge about whether they want to come build something as an entrepreneur, get a job within the industry, or just advance their knowledges. Therefore, I think Bitget is not just an exchange or a business, but we believe that this is the true future, and therefore we are trying to invest more in a longer time and be sustainable in the growth of not only us as a company, but as an entire industry.
I feel like we're in an interesting place timing wise to talk to someone like yourself who represents a centralized exchange, in that, you know, obviously over the last couple of years, we've seen so much issues happen with numerous centralized exchanges. Obviously, FTX being the, you know, the big brand, maybe the worst disaster of them all. But seeing that centralized exchanges, those who now are, you know, still around and are protecting their customers' funds, it almost seems like there's a role that they almost have to play as a brand that goes beyond just being an exchange. And like you said, what Bitget's doing in terms of, you know, financial literacy, like crypto education, and as well other areas of supporting investors or supporting builders who are coming into the space. Do you think that that whole fiasco, everything that has transpired over the last couple of years, has changed how centralized exchanges play a role in the crypto space? And what does Bitget do to ensure that customer funds are safe?
That's an amazing question, and I want to link it back because the question before, you were talking about how did I end up in Bitget before even deciding to join a team. I know that whether we like or not, having all your assets in a cold wallet, in cold storage, in ledger somewhere isn't always the feasible, because market is moving fast and sometimes you want to react, buy, sell, swap, do whatsoever. And centralized exchanges are much easier and better places to do so. And back in times, I was also trying to understand where is it better to keep my money and, have some peace, especially whatever happening in the market. And the reason I discovered Bitget was that first, Bitget offers a protection fund. It means whenever if something goes wrong, there is more than $500 million worth of assets that is locked in USDT, USDC, and in Bitcoins. There are more than 6,500 Bitcoins available in open wallets. That's how Bitget promises the customers that if there's any breach is happening, any security incident is happening, there's enough funds to return customer funds and customers will not suffer. Luckily, Bitget never had any security incident, and I think it's one of the largest crypto companies that can still proudly say that. But I think it is one important reassuring factor. Second reassuring factor is Bitget has a proof of funds. Every 2 or 3 months, there's a report that consistently been out for 2.5 years now, or 3 years. And Bitget pledged that it will always have at least 150% of all customer funds in proof of reserves as Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDT, and USDC. And what does it mean if today 25 million customers come and take all your assets? We will still have more money left in the exchange. That is a proof of liquidity. But on top of all of this, for every listener, my biggest advice is every now and then, withdraw all your money. I know you'll pay, I don't know, $10, $15 in a gas fees. Make sure you get them, make sure they really exist, and put them back. Therefore, I think that is one aspect that can really reassure everyone that this is your assets, they do exist, and you can withdraw and put them back whenever you want. And I think that is one of our beliefs of transparency. But again, both our protection fund and also proof of reserves are available in the publicly accessible wallets that users can go and check them whenever they want. That's how we reassure our customers that we don't touch any of their funds.
Vugar, one of the things that you had mentioned earlier was Bitget's partnership with Messi. And I think that that's another interesting piece because, Ulf had mentioned, some of the failures that have happened over the last couple of years, FTX being a big one. Obviously, they were an example of an exchange that was partnering with a lot of big names. And we've seen this happen before where notable names, celebrities, people of influence will come in and they will represent something. And unfortunately, there's been a lot of examples of some of these being rug pulls or scams, or in the FTX case, that disaster. Do you think that that has tarnished the concept of partnering with a big name at all? Whereas, at one point in time, you have Messi as part of your brand. That's such a significant thing. Whereas now maybe some people in the crypto space are like, oh yeah, this is another big name. But guess what? Floyd Mayweather was involved with something that was kind of scammy, and therefore, do we trust it? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Has it tarnished it at all based on some of the other projects that haven't worked out so well?
I believe like endorsement, especially celebrity endorsement, is a very old marketing tactic from the Roman Empire time till today.
Yeah.
We're all watching, I think biggest event of the year is the rally for the next US president. And that kind of a most powerful man in the world, or to be most powerful man in the world, they need that celebrity endorsement. I think this is one of the marketing tactics, still works. And zooming into like our partnership with Messi is, I believe it's really different, because for those who've seen the campaign Make It Count, it's not about crypto. Messi doesn't tell, oh, go to Bitget and put $100. It was never that kind of a transactional, because our idea was to inspire, because it's the greatest of all times football player, especially after win in the Copa America. He's the most awarded player in there. And our idea partnering with Messi was how we can inspire people to be great, how to make every small step count. And there's a beautiful story how we even end up signing up with the Messi, because the partnership started 2 years ago. Bitget was not nearly as big as it is today. And we had a certain budget in our mind and availability of the funds. And there was another larger crypto exchange that was also bidding for the attention. And it was a literally bidding war that everyone would do more and more and offer more. At some point we hit the ceiling. We were okay, we're not that rich, maybe like a next big thing. But head of marketing and the team was like, okay, we have nothing to lose. And for those who are familiar, like Messi's family is kind of managing his also business opportunities. We did this list that why Bitget and how Bitget can help Messi, and how we take the responsibility. We will not screw his brand. We will not screw his image, and how we're going to benefit from this partnership, and how he can benefit from this partnership. And eventually we sent that letter to them because we had no more money to offer, and we waited, and weeks passed by. We literally lost our hope. We were looking for another, marketing stand we want to approach. And we got that call back from his family telling that actually like Messi did like, this bold approach, that this partnership is not only about the money or highest bidder, but there's actually the things that you really want to achieve, and explained it well. What are your expectations? How you want to bank on his image and what he can gain in return that is beyond the money. Therefore, I believe this partnership was very successful for us and also for him, because Bitget is really reliable. He won't get like a million people, or he wouldn't get canceled for partnership like ours. And definitely, again, it was never about transaction. It was never about Messi and going, because he's a true ambassador for the brand, and we want to be partnering with him because the values he represents, and that making things happen and making things count idea, rather than telling people, oh, go and buy this product or go invest into this product. Because I believe, yes, from the marketing perspective, people are tired of it. We all grew, for example, I still remember that beautiful ad in Coliseum of the Pepsi with the ping and everyone telling we will rock you. But I don't think that works anymore.
What about switching gears a little bit here? But we've touched on the educational side of crypto and financial literacy, and you've mentioned Bitget is supporting education of crypto and financial literacy. But it's one thing to just educate and help educate. It's another when, as an exchange, users can deposit funds and lose it like that, right? And obviously there's upside potential too, but when so much can be at risk, and perhaps users don't have that much education around how, like, risk management for their funds, how does Bitget provide the education and what is necessary to make users feel safe and secure, and hopefully lead them down a path where they play their cards without putting too much risk on the table?
I think this question has many answers and no answer at the same time. Definitely, we've done a lot of education, for example, to fight scams and phishing, to educate our users that they don't end up being the victims of scams. But also, again, there are so many like a product features that we add on when people are, for example, putting too much or entire portfolio, or they're doing an operation that we deem that they are not aware or they're maxing out. It pops different notifications to them, or whenever they want to do a large transaction to random wallet address, or if it's a stained wallet address, they will get a notification that, are you sure that what you are doing? This kind of own product preventive methods to make sure that they don't lose their assets out there. But again, the main focus that we are kind of putting our efforts, especially with the blockchain for use, is not just limited on what users do on our platform, but we are focusing more on general knowledge and industry knowledge. And the reason or inspiration comes from, I'm sure some of you watched these depositions that happen in different parliaments in US, also in Europe, when they have, I don't know, Mark Zuckerberg or founder of a TikTok on any other, and legislators ask them very basic questions and nonsense questions that educated user just, it makes them laugh. Or we all know what happened with the Cambridge Analytica case, and then eventually Europe doing GDPRs, and we all end up in this half-blocked screens in our mobile phones that we click accept without knowing what we are even accepting, these cookie policies. In our idea, education should capture so many participants of our society who are not necessarily involved with crypto, that we don't end up in another large fiasco like that, or like tomorrow's legislators understand how crypto works. But definitely when we talk about a day-to-day user, we have Bitget Academy, where we invest tons of content creations by the influencers, by our own resources, where we educate users about as simple as what is Bitcoin, how to buy, how to sell, how to deposit, how to protect, what is the cold wallet, how to store. But again, I think it is a problem that not a single exchange can solve, but I believe we all shall work together to do so.
Speaking of the education piece, we're based here in Canada, and there was a report that came out from the Ontario Securities Commission, and it was basically a survey polling different Canadians on their familiarity with crypto. And so some of the findings, more than half of Canadians, so 54%, are able to give a basic definition of crypto, which was up from the previous year. More than a third, 34%, believe it will play a key role in the future. But with that said, the survey also showed that many people actually regret their crypto decisions, which probably makes sense because this was based comparing it to the 2022, where they maybe had seen their funds decline from 22 to 23. And so they were thinking, they don't have the confidence that they will get those funds back. Maybe they haven't been through a full bear market transitioning into a bull market. They haven't had that experience. So with all that in mind, I know you mentioned blockchain for youth, but how does Bitget approach that financial literacy, that crypto literacy for the masses? And also, to tag on to that, at what point do you think that will tip the scales where the mainstream now has more of a faith in crypto and it doesn't seem like such a risky play from their perspective?
When we talk about like a global audience, only like a 6 to 7% of world population has any sort of direct interaction with the crypto or digital assets. It's a very small amount compared to people who transact with the paper money, or either people who consume alcohol or any other, the consumable out there. Another important factor in terms of education or understanding, and as a COO, I get a lot of people reaching out, for example, on the social media telling that, I lost my money. And when I dig into, I realize that they invested into different projects. And from this platform, I also want to tell people that as an exchange, we are very different to any other, let's say, casino or a gambling product, because we only facilitate buy and sell process. If someone invests in X project and lose their money, as an exchange, we don't gain it. Therefore, we can't do much in terms of how people make their decisions in what project to invest, or I don't know which coin gonna go, I don't know, 10x tomorrow. And unfortunately, I also want to like blame media. And I used to work for Being Crypto for many years. I was the CMO there, managing 65 countries. The narrative for years, especially in the traditional media, was about a person who invested $100 became rich over the night. And that is usually the story people chase. They want to find that thing or that tip, or a friend tells you, you put that $100 and you wake up super rich. And unfortunately, it is never a case. Like I heard it happened to a friend of a friend, but I never saw an actual person who put $100, became a millionaire, quit his job, or won a lottery. Unfortunately, crypto is not a winning a lottery. I believe, in my opinion, crypto should, or as an exchange, our business should always be compared to London Stock Exchange or Nasdaq or New York Stock Exchange, where you have to make right decision, because you can invest even top 500 stocks and still lose your money because it wasn't a tech savvy movement. We all know what happened with the Enron case back in times. Therefore, all the markets have ups and downs, and financial market needs a lot of financial literacy. Unless, in my opinion, the safest way to kind of not to lose is dollar cost averaging of a Bitcoin, or at least top 10 tokens that out there when you have this like well-balanced portfolio. But if today someone decides to take, I don't know, their life savings put into a meme coin, it will be, in my opinion, equal going to a casino and betting red or green and probably having zero.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny. Ulf and I were joking about this a few months ago, but I've had friends reach out to me earlier in the year when Bitcoin price kind of, surpassed all-time high, crossed 70K. I had people reaching out saying, hey, just curious, like what I can do to invest to get like a 50x. And I'm like, in what other world would you ask somebody that and have that realistic expectation? Like, don't you think, if that was the case, if it was that easy, then, I would be doing much more consulting or something like that. But just the expectations there. I'm curious though, Vugar, how does it compare? So some of Canada's stats that I shared there, from your familiarity, I mean, how does that compare to the global stage? Is crypto awareness similar to some of those statistics that you've seen in other countries, or what do you know from that perspective of how Canada's doing kind of on the world stage?
I believe there's the research shows that there's a two-way approach. In advanced economies, crypto knowledge or crypto adoption is more about investing. People have disposable income, or they want to kind of engage in the new avenues of investing. While in countries, let's say in Latin America, can be a good example, Venezuela, or in Turkey, where crypto adoption is forced by the economical situation. If people don't have an access to banking system, if they don't have access to foreign currencies, they end up having this crypto adoption, and then we will see a huge burden lies on the stable coins like USDT and the way they are used in a day-to-day transaction. Therefore, I believe adoption is not necessarily the indicator of the people's crypto knowledge or crypto savviness, because in Turkey, for example, almost every corner will have an OTC desk where you can give your USDT and exchange it to the liras or dollars, but not necessarily these people who have a Bitcoin holding on, they will do any sort of investment. For them, it is, okay, Turkish lira or Argentinian peso or any other currency is really, really, devaluating. There are like a 2-3 exchange rates during the day. How I can preserve my money? Similar to my story, right? How I can preserve my money? Let me go to crypto. Another interesting example is Morocco, where the crypto is banned, but they are top 5 or 10 for the adoption, because there are a lot of foreign workforce that uses crypto to send money back to their home, because it's very expensive to use, I don't know, traditional means like bank transfer or Western Union. Therefore, in my opinion, like every locality has its own reasons why people embrace crypto. But mainly when we look at into advanced market like a Canada, US, or Western Europe, we see that more and more people use crypto either to diversify their portfolio, or they're looking for the new means of investment. And that is a different kind of a thinking process. That's where you want to do like a 3x, 4x, or at least better than your bank or better than, I don't know, a real estate in your local area, while in other places you can have a huge crypto penetration, but people wouldn't be investing in anything else. And today, I think with this tap to earn games on Tone protocol, we see that more and more people had this illusion of like earning money while they tap on a screen and collecting that tokens. That, it's a different way of understanding. Or 2-3 years ago, when the Axie Infinity was in its height and NFT market, there was a lot of people in Southeast Asia, I don't know, like grannies and grandpas that playing the game and merging these NFTs to breed more and to gain more because there was a financial incentive out there. Therefore, in my opinion, adoption, financial incentive, and what people want to get out of the crypto is really, really varies. And it's not always the same. And again, back to that narrative of media influencing and telling people that this is the place where you can make your next million with zero investment. I think that is the biggest problem.
So what is it going to take? And are we ever going to get to a point, do you think, when the masses, over 50% of people see the positive in crypto and believe in crypto?
I believe yes. And I believe sometimes you don't need to necessarily understand. For example, we don't understand how Swift works, but still money moves across the globe, or we don't know how our Visa or MasterCard works when we tap it onto that device and we pay for it. Therefore, in my opinion, even crypto becomes like a very mass adoption, it won't be about going and buying a meme coin or holding particular asset. It will be about the infrastructure and technology that empowers. And one of the greatest examples, I was recently talking to the Unilever's vice president. They use blockchain technology to track their palm oil production to make sure it is free from deforestation. And there are so many other large corporations, or for example, I believe a huge portion of Ticketmaster's business runs on NFTs, where we don't interact with them directly, but technology solves a huge problem. And I think that is more logical way that crypto will be adopted rather than thinking, oh, we're going to invest in a XYZ token.
Makes sense. Vugar, we're getting close to the end of this conversation. In a second, we're going to ask you the same 3 questions we ask every guest on this show. But just before that, I want to ask, Ulf mentioned before, we're kind of at an interesting time in the market. We saw a price run up earlier in the year. Many people feel like we're in the early stages of this bull run. If that's the case, what do you think will be some trends to keep an eye on? I mean, you're somebody who came in 2017. You've seen a bear market. You've seen a bull market. You've seen another bear market. So now this bull market, what do you think will be a dominant trend?
I believe the dominant trend that is very different for the next bull run is all the bull runs previously were run by the Bitcoin. Bitcoin went and then everything else followed. This will be the first bull run that we won't see that, because Bitcoin is becoming, in my opinion, the beast of its own. There's institutions, there's money changing hands within that ecosystem. It doesn't necessarily cascade down. For me, the next bull run will be about a true next big thing that can disrupt the entire crypto ecosystem. And my prediction, that is not a financial advice, but definitely I believe before the end of the year, we should see the 100K hitting the Bitcoin. And that's kind of one thing I'm really, really hoping to retire for. But again, I believe that next bull run is not about Bitcoin anymore. It will be about how truly the technology can disrupt lives in everyday lives.
As I mentioned, we like to end every episode of Show Me the Crypto with the same 3 questions we ask every guest. It's a segment we call You Had Me at Crypto. So Ulf is going to ask you those questions.
All right, Vugar, are you ready?
Yes.
The first question, who's your favorite person to follow in the crypto space?
I'm very good friend with Justin of the Tron, and I'm really following him because I love what they have done in terms of adoption with the stable coins I mentioned. And of course, Vitalik is there, my all-time favorite too, with his funny memes. And I really love how you can do great things and still be cool or be different.
Love it. Second question, What will the price of Bitcoin be 10 years from now?
Not financial advice.
Oh my God. 10 years from now, if we are talking one Bitcoin, I think 10 years from now, you could buy an airport or at least an airplane with that money. That should be the kind of indicator. I don't want to calculate for the inflation rates and so on, but it should be very huge. Therefore, buy it now.
That's the first time I've heard somebody answer that question with like a physical, like you can buy an airplane with one. I love it.
I like it. All right. Third question. What is the most underrated project in the crypto space?
Other than Bitget.
Oh, wow. Honestly, I believe what is really, really underrated in terms of like a project out there is deep in projects, even though we see them growing up, because I think it will facilitate more human to human connection and the things we can trade between each other. Because the idea in the beginning was this decentralization. Then we very much walk towards the centralization. Now still these big projects are run as a corporation. And I think decentralized economy could be easily, if I am going to work today and I can rent you my electric charger to charge your car, or I don't know, my drill to drill a hole in your wall, or just if I have, I don't know, electric panels to sell it back to the grid. Therefore, I think blockchain will make it so easy that we can keep bartering between each other without actually, needing the money and negotiation and all these things in a very smaller granular scale. And I'm very excited and hopeful that this technology will not have the life of the NFTs and actually be implemented as it is meant to be. If it is, then it will be the next big thing.
Vugar, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining Ulf and I on this episode of Show Me the Crypto.
Thanks for having me. And yes, I wish we could show everyone more crypto, especially for the people who are not in crypto, that they come and enjoy it.
Thank you for listening to Show Me the Crypto. Please make sure to subscribe as well as rate and review this podcast.